And welcome back, everyone. So, at the end of the last video, things had gotten a little bit carried away with the PvP quest stuff and started to get a little bit off track, where we got into a discussion on bounties. And as Zach had mentioned, and I told Gavin brought up some very good points and some very important ones, but there is a section that Zach has put together that's dedicated to bounties because we think that we can make that a very interesting part of dynamic gameplay. So we will be coming back to that, Gavin. But with that, let's go ahead and continue, Zach, with...
Well, let me see how much room I have here. I mean, I've got plenty of writing space left, so let me just continue from here.
Okay.
Because what I'm going to do is bring in a brand new category of quests. So we're going to go all kind of up 2 levels from where we were. Because originally we've been talking about content-driven quests and content-driven quest types and that sort of thing. So let's take a look at player-driven quests. Or player-created quests might even be a better way to look at it. Because we want players to be able to make their own quests in this game, I think.
I think that's very important.
Definitely, yeah.
It's not something that we see a lot of. And
no, you really don't.
If done right...
There's reasons for that.
Well, it's going to be very complicated to pull off. But if done right, again, it keeps the world very dynamic, and it could also make the economy much more rich.
Well... You know, I've got a lot of the same quest types, or we call them task types. But I wanted to jot them down anyway. This is certainly... Go ahead, please.
Go ahead, Gavin.
I was going to say, are there any specifically off the top of it that we can go through your previous list and say this would be bad as a player created?
Well, let me write them down. I mean, I could just jump up here, but I want to have a separate list so that we can do that. So I've got to write them down a second time anyway, but I won't be doing the list along the side of it. I think we get the point by now. So the first one, and this is really easy, you have your standard career quest. And I mean, that's right out of EVE Online. You have some good that you need taken from point A to point B. You don't want to go get it, so you're going to go have somebody else do it. We have maintenance quests. And I threw this in. It was funny that it got mentioned in the previous video, because the reason I threw this in is we had talked so much about there being property and lands you could control and all of the various benefits that could come from keeping your land well maintained, keeping it running, keeping everything repaired, etc. and so forth. And you don't necessarily want to have to do that yourself. So you could pay somebody to do it, being like an NPC, basically just drop a fee into an automatic system, and some invisible NPC just keeps everything running for you, and you don't have to worry about it. Or if you want to throw some money out there for somebody else who might actually be cheaper, you could just put up a maintenance quest and let somebody else manually go out there and handle it. A point I wanted to kind of throw out, and this really would kind of go more in the stipulations section, but I'll throw it here early anyway. I would like both parties in this situation to get experience.
Yeah.
So the quest giver gets some experience. The questor, the person who actually does the job, they get some experience too. Just because I think that's a good way to drive people to make quests.
What are you talking about? Laziness is going to drive people. In World of Warcraft, if I could just say, you, go pick all my damn flowers.
Right. Right, but at the same time, like, look at your maintenance quest. If there was an automatic maintenance system, even if it costs a little more, you might want to do that so you know it's going to get done. But if you knew you were going to get something back in terms of quest experience by putting a job out there that a real human being took, you might be more enticed to do that because it would help you level.
Well, and also there's something to be said for the idea that it's almost an advertising skill, if you like.
Sure.
You've got to get somebody to take the job.
For more than just money, you think?
Well, no, what I'm saying is there's a way, I don't know how you necessarily implement this, but off the top of my head, you know, if you're looking through a job board, some of them are going to jump out. Some of them are going to jump out as bad. And if there's ways to almost grease the wheels...
Well, money's
because we're talking about, you were talking about player-created quests, then... It's almost like the craft of creating quests. There could be like an advertising exec, for instance, who you go to, who has the skill to really get your message out there.
It's true.
Or similar. And that would be an aspect whereby if you manage to put a quest up on a full board that's got hundreds of jobs on it.
Oh, Nelson.
Nelson, seriously?
You're fired.
Yeah, wow.
That's a firing offence where I come from.
Yes.
This is why.
Yeah, for me.
But that's okay. With what Gavin was just saying, I heard you grunt, Nelson. It sounded like you grunted in interest. What was the grunt about?
No, I forgot.
He's reading his text.
Yeah, he is.
And hey, it was a phone call. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so obnoxious. But as far as how you could implement that, I was just thinking in my head about how you could implement that, where there could be a skill called your advertising skill, and you could get better with that. And when you post something on a job board, depending on your advertisement skill, it'll get called out more. I mean, I think allowing somebody to a full HTML WYSIWYG editor or something would be going a little bit too far.
Overly much, yeah.
And
but how long it takes for somebody to actually, pick up your quest and do it? If you're really clever with what you offer and
that's where I was going with
that.
Yeah,
I mean, then obviously you're doing a good job of presenting yourself.
Okay, but in addition though, that could create with the advertising being a skill. It could create, like Gavin said, a market of advertisers who will go out and make quests for you. I mean, to the point where perhaps a really well-known...
Literally, down to leafleting on the street. You would send out a party of NPC urchins
the street
with handbills.
Well, and then
I'm putting a bounty quest on all of the street team for this one guy. Bring me their heads in a bag.
But no,
what the demon does to spammers is amazing.
Yeah. Still need to read that book.
I cheered.
All right.
But things. Each listing could have the name of the player that advertised it. So that to find an advertiser, you just go to the job board, see the most well-advertised one or the most prominent one, and then click on the person, and then go track him down and work out a deal. I don't know, stuff and things.
Stop with the stuff.
Yeah, you really need to quit with the stuff and things.
And words.
And I'm just saying words. You really need to stop
that
very
but
badly.
Because both of you guys are onto something I think is very cool, because, again, we're going to have, legal channels, but we're also going to have illegal channels in the underworld. And so somebody who's a very skilled advertiser could get messages put into the underground for shady jobs that need to be done, and perhaps you don't have the proper hacking skills to access those sorts of networks.
Well, you mentioned Serenity earlier with the big bad villain in Serenity, Firefly. What about the guy with the bowler hat, the English guy with the bowler hat in Firefly? I forget his name.
I do too. All of a sudden, I knew it 5 minutes ago.
That's the character.
Yeah,
that's the guy. He can fix anything.
Exactly.
Sure.
So yeah, I really like the idea. It's a very cool one that we will have to get added to the skill discussion.
Well, moving back over to our original task types. So we have collection as well, which I know we mentioned earlier, but this could be down to just go to the store and buy this for somebody. Basically, it boils down to the person who makes this quest needs something that they don't have, and they're just going to pay whoever can bring it to them.
Time is money, and perhaps they just don't want to go out there.
Yeah, it could be anything. It could be something beyond their ability to get. They don't have the reputation, the money, or whatever to just go get it in the wild, so to speak. So whatever. All right, so we have collection now. Next, this gets a little outside the box, but I'm going to throw it in anyway. I might want to save it for later, but I won't. Survey. This ties back into lands and owning properties. The idea of a survey quest is to get somebody to find you a good zone to do this, that, or the other. Mm-hmm. And what I had in mind was that you as a single player are not going to be feasibly capable of seeing all of the best spots. And so if you throw out a quest to say, hey, I'm looking for a place to set up a farm, whoever sends me the one that I like, I'll pay you $10,000. And so you take that quest, you're like, hey, I know of a great spot that nobody's grabbed yet. You go out there, you drop a few survey probes, the person goes and taps into those, goes, oh my God, that is a great place. Boom, you just made $10,000. Mm-hmm. So something like that.
Well, and also I like, because as I think I've mentioned to you before, I'm a big fan of there being a frontier in this world, literally like a Wild West frontier, a gold rush, where there is an end to civilization that fades out into where people, it's the Mississippi Delta, and once you cross that bridge, here be dragons.
Right,
but
exactly.
There's your survey. Literally be a surveyor, go out and
you could potentially make really good money at it.
Yeah. Well, and welcome to Laquetteville. And that would actually be quite a nice little sort of cosmetic achievement type reward.
I'm
if
so
you
glad
discover
it
a
said that.
place, if you found a city,
Yeah, exactly.
you get to name it.
Right.
And that actually ties in with something that had occurred to me, which would be probably for sort of end game questing, which would be to go out and found a city, almost pushing towards the quest check, which would be a huge quest in and of itself.
Now that brings us. That could be a quest, but it does kind of branch a little bit too far over into land and that sort of thing. So, Nelson, did you have anything to say about the idea of a survey quest?
No, I think surveying is going to be pretty cool.
Okay. The next one I had is escort, which is just easier to write than bodyguard. This is kind of problematic and tricky in and of itself, and I acknowledge that, because this would be a quest where somebody is getting on the boards and saying, "Hey, I need people to protect me,"
or just something I see in WoW.
I need help.
I'll pay anyone. I'll pay a tank so much gold if they will run us through.
Exactly. It's paying for a group, but what the thing you'd have to avoid is that if the person gets killed, the quest isn't necessarily failed. It would have to be time-based. I mean, the person would have to stick it out and help for X amount of time. Because it's entirely feasible that somebody would be like, I need you to help me, and then they immediately go run into a bar, throw their some part of their anatomy up on the counter and start making googly noises, and they get themselves beat to a pulp, and you're just like, I didn't sign up for this. And that's not your fault. So it would have to be time-based, but I think it's certainly a feasible thing. And it does come down to, the WoW chat where it's like, looking for tank, looking for DPS, looking for mage DPS, that sort of thing.
And I really think those quests belong in PvP rather than PvE. Everyone hates them in PvE for the reasons given above.
I see, but I don't think so. I think,
Really?
Yeah, I really don't, because, well, in a lot of cases, I actually see it taking place. It's for a PvP. I'm sorry.
Am I getting my acronyms?
I think you might be. It's for a PvE, player versus environment situation.
It shouldn't be. I hate it in player versus environment.
Well, then you just haven't played enough.
You always have to escort an annoying NPC.
No.
You're looking at it wrong.
Yeah, look here.
That's PvE.
No, look. We're basically saying pay for team.
Like you need to go and complete this dungeon for whatever reason.
All right, let's not call it escort.
Pay for friends.
I
pay for friends. There you go.
I was making a sort of meta point about that, which is I like it as an idea in this scenario. It makes sense in this scenario. It was mentioned before as a type in the player versus environment section.
It was, and that would be literally where you've got the NPC who's got to get from point A to point B, and you got to keep them alive. So I just changed my term.
Well,
they're always painful.
Can you hire NPC bodyguards?
Well, that wouldn't be quest based though. That would just be you going out and hiring bodyguards. That's not necessarily creating a quest for someone to follow.
Right, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, never mind. Ignore me.
Nope.
In the game though, that does bring up the point of if in the game it is possible, and I think it probably should be to get an NPC backup. Then how do we? Again, I suppose this comes down to both people getting experience. There has to be a reason that you would not use the NPC.
Well, sure. An NPC is only going to come with so much artificial intelligence.
That's very
and
true.
if you're wanting to talk with them on Vent or any type of VoIP, I don't know how that's going to work with an NPC.
I need somebody who knows the inside of this building to take me through it.
It's okay, Gavin. We know you know. We're just
my friend.
Exactly. Paying for friends.
I had a brain meltdown when I was saying that. I think
we're just
I heard it actually.
Further.
I heard
it's
it
all
happen.
good.
Okay, so the next thing I have outside of what we'll now call paid teammates, so there's no confusion, is simply a transport quest. And this is like paying for a taxi. I'm here. I need somebody to take me over there.
You've got a Class 3 shuttle license, and you can take my team deep out into Sector so-and-so to drop us off so that we can do this real complex quest, and we don't want to spend 3 hours getting out there.
Yeah, it could be as simple as I can't fly, and I need somebody who can to carry me out here, or we can't fly, and all 7 of us need a ride out to here or there.
Exactly.
almost it's a subcategory of courier quest.
Sure,
Surely.
sure. If you want to look at it that way, you absolutely could. But I was thinking of tracking items versus players being different. It doesn't have to be. You're absolutely right. That would kind of be on the coding server end of things. All right. So the next thing I have, and this is, I'm going to move this around on the fly. I'm going to rearrange stuff. We have subcontracting. Now, this gets fun. This is where you have a quest that you have accepted that you don't want to do, and you're going to pay somebody else to do it for you.
Or the other way around, you have the reputation to acquire a quest, and somebody wants to actually do it. And so you get the quest to then...
Sure, you could have subcontracting be like a skill, giving you access to quests which could be farmed out. This is something that actually Jason and I talked about when I told him we should have subcontracting. He'd already kind of anticipated it happening, but eventually you could end up in a situation where you make your money just by subcontracting out quests. You scarf up all the quests first, and then you subcontract them out to people.
This almost brings us back to the kind of advertiser, fixer type guy again.
I'll tell you, there have been so many quests
domain.
in WoW and even some in EVE that I was just like, I don't feel like doing that.
And you would have happily paid anybody to just go take care of it and bring you back those
Zach,
those damn raptor heads.
No different than how I used to pay Zach a fortune.
You did too.
To go out and collect Frost Lotus.
Sometimes actual cash.
Yeah, a couple times.
A couple times he actually, in real world cash, to go out and collect Frost Lotus. I take care of my friends, do I not? Actually, well, I think the most I ever made from anything was to get you all of the mats you needed to train your alchemy.
Yeah.
I went and picked flowers for like 14 hours or something.
It was insane. I think it was even longer than that.
Yeah, it was stupid. It was like one full day of nonstop playing.
And then, damn it, if I could have subcontracted out someone to sit there and mix the potions for the next few hours, I would have been happy. But I couldn't subcontract that part
Yeah, because that's building up your own skills. I can kind of see that.
The sort of corollary that Nelson just mentioned, I suppose it comes under a collection quest, really. But I don't know if you want to note it separately, the idea of collecting a quest being something that you would send someone on a quest to get. Like Nelson said, if you haven't got the reputation to do a particular quest, but the reward for that quest gives you something that you desperately need, you would put a contract out to get
That's like a reverse subcontractor.
Are we going to get ourselves into some sort of balancing trouble here? Because obviously there's reasons that you...
Yeah, you actually made me just want to scratch this out and say we can't do it anymore.
No, because I'm lazy and I still like the idea of being able to subcontract out my quests to people to do it for me if I don't feel like doing something stupid, like go get all the raptor heads.
So you're going to need to have some sort of a...
but I'm talking about the
availability check.
Reverse deal. I can't go up to... John Doe and get this quest because I haven't built up enough reputation. So, Zach, could you go up and get that quest for me and give it to me? And, we put stuff like that in to prevent the level 1 newbie from getting access to the level 6,000 weapon.
But there would be, you could deal with that. One way to deal with that would be because obviously there's going to be a reputation consideration for the person who decides to give them that quest. Okay, say that in simple terms it's a good quest that you want, but you can't get it because you're too bad. Then somebody who is good enough to get that could face, certainly should face having to. It should affect his reputation. It push him more bad by virtue of the fact that he's given somebody who shouldn't have access to the quest that quest. So then it becomes
let's do. I see what you're saying, Gavin. Let's do this. We'll revisit subcontracting.
Yeah. It could really be its own video.
Right now,
I was just putting up a defense to where Zach said.
I know exactly what you're saying, but I think no, we're not going to scratch it off because I still like the one way of if I get a quest and I don't feel like going out and collecting the raptor heads. And let's say Zach wasn't high enough to get that quest, but good God, he's able to go out and kill the raptors and get the heads. But if I had the reputation to get the quest, I could have got the quest and then turned around and subcontracted it to Zach with a skill set that's required to complete it that he does have, the proper weapons to kill the raptors. He kills the raptors, gives me what I need to give back to the guy to complete the quest. I definitely want to keep that in. I like that.
Or, an interesting way that to kind of help solve the problem. I mean, you're going to have to agree upon who gets what out of the arrangements anyway. If gear comes out of completing that quest, you have to agree who gets the gear.
There's always the possibility, like we said earlier, about the person that goes off and gets the dragon head for you, will just leave with the dragon head.
Oh,
right.
No.
And then you as the subcontractor are screwed, just like in the real world, because they didn't get the job done, but now it reflects poorly on you.
Reputation.
And it shows on your virtual resume, basically.
Right. That you're not a reliable subcontractor.
Yeah.
But same with the subcon. Well, I mean, the subcontractor.
So the person giving the contract.
The person giving the contract and the subcontractor will both get.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will.
But what?
And it could potentially be much more damaging for the person who's done the subcontract.
Even if gear was given out, I was not envisioning that somebody would. Hang on, Rebecca.
Rebecca's having a spasm fit.
She's somebody she's joined in. She just doesn't have a mic.
Sorry. Okay, you were worrying about them basically taking the item that you need and then not getting the usual.
Yeah, let me say that real quick. Let me say this real quick because I think it's important, and that is I wasn't envisioning if I subcontracted out to Zach and he went and collected 5 raptor heads, that Zach then goes back to the guy to complete it and bring the completed stuff to me. I was envisioning of it as, because since this is still a player-generated quest, Zach goes out, does the subcontracted tasks, comes back to
brings
me,
it to you,
and gives it to me, and that completes.
Right, because that subcontracted quest you made, and you are now the quest turn-in for it.
So if there was gear that's being given out, then I go back and turn in my heads, and I get that gear.
Right, because you don't have that gear.
That's right. The player-generated quest, in this particular case for subcontracted, offered money and experience for someone else to go and do it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that at that point, it's perfectly possible for the person that you've subcontracted to do the quest, to get the stuff for you, that he won't bring it back.
Sure.
But then they lose reputation.
And then you lose reputation because you failed to come through.
Sure. Or you'd have to get somebody else.
Or
just go do it yourself.
Yeah. Be careful there, Gavin, because I think you shouldn't lose reputation right away. If I hired Zach and Zach ended up just completely pooping out on me, then I can go finish the quest myself and turn it in.
Right.
But I'm going to mark Zach's completion of it as failed, and then and like Nelson just said a minute ago, then it just hurt Zach on his virtual CV.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to get at, I think Nelson has twigged what I meant. He might have a better time explaining it.
Let Nelson explain. Nelson?
What am I explaining?
What we were trying to get at about not only Zach losing reputation, but perhaps the example you've given, I haven't played enough WoW to know, is not representative of this. But if because of him essentially ripping you off, if he did that, you might be put in the position of being unable to complete a much more important, or to be able to complete that quest or something related to it.
Well, yeah, the timer might run out.
Obviously.
Yeah. That would have an effect on your reputation. Basically, there has to be.
Yeah, it's
from the beginning. From the beginning, the idea has been that you, as the subcontractor, are putting your name on the line as well, because you're the person who actually took the original quest.
With certain types of quests, as Zach mentioned, time limited. Yes. And then, of course, there might be quests where there's not a time limit, where it's just go get such and such, and you just don't feel like going out and doing it.
Right.
So you get somebody else to do it. And if they fail, it hurts them, but then you could hire someone else or just go do it yourself. And that does not hurt you. So certain types.
What I was trying to get at is that, because you were saying about the balance problem of it, it could cause problems.
No. I was talking about a deeper route, somebody going around and collecting quests to pass out the quest to someone else, to bypass reputation blocks that we put in place. And I'm talking about something completely different.
I misunderstood that.
Yeah.
And that does get complex. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Well, I guess nothing now, because you're pretty much... What I was going to say was there being a time frame on it if they do not complete it within a certain amount of time. Instead of being some sort of like penalty, it's just like whatever you give them, in order to complete the quest, it just goes back to the subcontractor without someone being penalized. Or unless, if they try and be an asshole, the person who actually accepted the quest from the subcontractor should be penalized, not the person who is being the contractor.
Yeah, it's and basically what she's saying is if you
misunderstanding
if you are the subcontractor, give a quest out to someone else, and let's say we develop the system rich enough that we can impose a time limit, but it's not already a timed quest. John Doe says collect this much milk, so I say, Zach, go collect this much milk, but you have 30 minutes to do it. Even though I have forever, but I know I'm going to be getting off the computer in the next hour. Then if Zach fails, he has failed because of the time limit. I could get someone else or go get it myself, but in that case, it does not hurt me. But if it's a time limit that trickles from the top with the NPC, the origination of the quest, then that would be something that would affect both people. But again, let's come back and discuss subcontracting in greater detail when we get to it. I think everybody at least has an idea now of the direction we're going.
Absolutely. And one of the stipulations that I had in mind for player-driven quests anyway is that they are all time-based. Mm-hmm. If you're a player and you make a quest, there has to be a time limit on it.
Right. But it would be nice to be able to, but it'd be nice to be able to control that if you wanted to.
Sure. Well, I wouldn't leave people with the control to make a completely untimed quest.
Yeah, because you could have someone who just logs off and
exactly and comes back.
Well, actually, that does bring up an interesting point, which is that because there has to be a mechanism for dealing with the situation where a player sets up a quest for another player takes it on, and then for whatever reason the first player never logs back into the game again.
Well, they fail the quest because the time would have to be persistent.
Zach,
well, hold on.
Let me take the person who gives the quest.
He's talking about the
for whatever reason
guy.
No longer plays the game.
It wouldn't matter.
The person who does the quest has no one to bring the stuff back to.
It won't matter, and that's going to be something that comes back through as we keep talking, because you're not you as the subcontractor are not the actual. You're not the actual quest turn-in. You're not the person doesn't ever need to speak to you again. This is all going to have to be handled through a mediator, which would be an automated system, basically through the job board. Sorry,
subcontractor is a person who does a subcontract.
Yeah, okay, that's enough on subcontracting for now. We will come back to that, and it'll help once you've heard how the job board works.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm not at all worried about what you're saying there, Gavin. So rest assured, that's good. Okay, here's one I'm just going to write down, and we're not going to talk about it at all.
I'm already talking. B-O. We can talk about it right now.
Nope. That's it.
Bounties. It has its own.
It's going to have its own video.
Because now, dear God, we could be here for another
hour. And the other one, and I think Jason pretty much already said he really didn't want to have this in there, but I'm going to throw the idea out there anyway. And that's just kind of other. And both of these are worthy of their own.
We don't want.
No, it really, and here it has to be named other. I'd originally in my notes called it "It's Complicated." And basically, what it boils down to is that both players have to kind of mutually agree whether or not the quest was completed. So it is a nightmare waiting to happen. I know.
No, I thought it wasn't. They both not just that, but I thought the type is like because we're in types of the generated bounties and I thought it was just like wide open.
A combination of
wide open combination with things that might not necessarily even go in any of the categories.
It's basically the ability for somebody to write out their own description of something they need done,
right? Exactly.
Which isn't necessarily trackable by the computer.
Exactly, and I really kind of like the idea, Nelson, from a coding point of being able to handle all of this in black and white, so that the computer, so that the application knows exactly what's going on.
And I do not disagree with you. I threw this out there anyway because I could see it being implemented by like the folks who by CCP, and I can see it being abused and people going, well, they abused me, and CCP going,
Zach, I want you to paint my house blue. Computer's like, huh?
Yeah, but it's like you took the job.
And Zach paints it sky blue. It's not the blue I wanted.
Exactly.
I'm not paying you.
There's a lot of room for grief in it. I know that, but I wanted to pitch the idea out there and see if anybody had any thoughts on the matter.
But it's Jason.
But it's something that I think we should discuss in a separate video, especially since we're already half an hour into this one.
All right, yeah, we'll just close this one. We'll come right back and we'll pick up. Hang on, let's pick up in the next video right with what Nelson said, because I have a feeling I know what Nelson's going to say. But we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks a lot.